Hello friends, welcome to ASP.NET MVC code snippet, and in this session we are going to study WebGrid helper. Okay, so let us see what is WebGrid. It is actually used to display a data on a web page using an HTML table element. Okay, it renders your data in a tabular form in very simple way, as well as it has a support of custom formatting. It has a support for pagination, it has a support for sorting, and as well as it can update your data in your table in asynchronous form via Ajax. So you can relate the WebGrid with data grid view in ASP.NET Web Form. Okay, in ASP.NET Web Form we usually use data grid view and it provides lots of facility to us. Okay, in MVC we display our data in the tabular form before studying the WebGrid. Okay, so today we are going to study how this WebGrid works. So let us see this part practically. So as you can see here, I already created WebGrid demo MVC application, and again to give a feel of entire architecture, what I did, I just created a folder for data access layer for data models, and our models folder will contain a view models. Okay, so if you are working with entire architecture, definitely there will be a respective class library for DAL, for data models, and for view models also. Just I am going to avoid that complexity in this part, and I would already explain that part using repository design pattern. Now your data models will contain the models that represent your database, and this is generated using database first approach of entity framework. So if you are not aware of that part, I already uploaded that video, so please watch that video. Now here, as you can see, this is my DB context class, my DB entities. Okay, then these are my entity classes or POCO classes, that is area, city, and user. Okay, now here I am going to display a data of area table in a tabular form using WebGrid. So what I did, I just created a view model that will represent the area, and as you can see here, there is area ID, area name, pin code, and city ID as well as city name. Actually there is a relation between city and area. One city has many areas, and in a table we are going to display the city name. Now in data access layer, I created one area repository which is fetching a data from a database. Okay, so for that what I did, I created an object of DB context class. So my DB context class name is my DB entities. Okay, I created an object of it, that is DB. Here I wrote a getAll method, okay, which is returning IEnumerable collection of area view model. Okay, so for that I created a list of area view model, and from database area table I fetch all the areas. Now these areas are of type area, and I want to return area view model. Okay, so that's why it is first of all collected in area, and then after it is assigned to area view models model object. Okay, and that model get added to the list first, and then that entire list is written. So definitely you can have other methods also for the CRUD operations. Okay, here I just wrote a single method to avoid the complexity, and as I told you, this part is already studied. Now this data access layer requires the models namespace which is having area view model, and data model which is having this MyDB entities class as well as this area class. So I just use that namespaces here. So remember this thing to import the required namespaces. Now let us switch to controller. Now controller is going to call this area repositories getAll method, and it is going to return this area view model. So it needs this DAL namespace to be imported, and as well as the model namespace to be imported. So look at here, these two namespaces are already used. Okay, now in index method or index action method, I created an object of area repository class and I give call to the getAll method. Now this method is returning IEnumerable collection of area view model that is collected and then passed to the view. Then it is passed to the view. So my view is definitely what? It is a strongly typed view. So this view is again already created. So let us switch to that view. Okay. So according to the concept of strongly typed view, we know that our view can be binded to a single model or IEnumerable collection of models. So here, since it is binded to IEnumerable collection, so I specified this model declaration IEnumerable area view model. Since it is in another namespace, that's why I have to specify from the root namespace. Or what you can do, you can use this namespace before this statement and then after you can directly write down IEnumerable area view model. Okay, now let us use the web grid helper. Okay, so to use a web grid helper, what we have to do, we have to create an object of it. So let me create it, web grid, and remember this thing that it is in system.web.helpers namespace. So if it is not there, please add the reference of same. Okay, so let us say grid is equal to new web grid, and here you have to specify the source. Source is nothing but from where your data is coming. So my data is in my model. Okay, so what I have to say? Model. Now there are other properties also, but time being I'm just going to focus on few properties. Okay, now as I told you, WebGrid supports pagination part also. Okay, and if you look at the arguments carefully, all the arguments are enclosed in square bracket. Now what is the meaning of square bracket? All these arguments are optional. These arguments are what? Optional. So suppose now I want to pass this row per page argument. Okay, so what I have to do, I have to skip these 2-3 arguments, then I have to pass. But again, .NET provides us the concept of named argument. So using named argument, I am going to pass the row per page argument, okay, which supports pagination. So I'll say row per page. You have to specify the argument name, then colon, and then after the value. Look at here, this part get highlighted. So here I'll specify show 4 records per page. Okay, now so we're done with the declaration part. Now what is the next step? Now we want to render the grid. Okay, so you have to give call to the grid.getHTML method. Again, this method is accepting lots of argument, but currently we are not focusing on it. And again, if you look at carefully, all the arguments are what? Optional. So what this getHTML method does? It will render your data in the HTML form. See, you do not have to write any code. What you said? You just said getHTML. So all the HTML, required HTML will be created by this getHTML method. So let us execute this and let us observe the output. So as you can see here, your view is rendered, okay, but it is not properly formatted. But if you look at here, the pagination part get applied, okay, as well as all the header column are in blue color. Look at here, whenever I am clicking on this, it gets sorted. So now it gets sorted in ascending order. Now if I again click on this, it gets sorted in descending order. Okay, and look at the URL, sort area name, sort direction DESC. Now if I click over here, city name, sort city name, and sort direction ASC means ascending. Now here your pin code is also gets sorted. Okay, now what we want to do, we want to display the required columns only, such as area ID, area name, city name, and pin code. I do not want to show the city ID, as well as I do not want to apply the sorting on pin code. Okay, and as well as I want to apply some formatting also. Okay, so let us set some arguments in our getHTML method. So let us switch to our view. So first of all, what we will do, we will apply the bootstrap class to our table. Okay, Now let us observe the argument. Okay, now for that actually there is a table style, header style, footer style, row style, alternating row style, selected row styles. All these things are available to which you can specify your defined CSS. So I am not going to explain that CSS part here. What I'll do, I'll just specify this HTML attribute property where I specify the bootstrap class table. Okay, so since this is the last argument, again I am going to use the concept of named argument. So for that, what I have to specify? I have to specify my argument name, then colon sign, and then after the value. So HTML attributes colon. Now these attributes are specified with anonymous class. Now my class is what? Table. Okay, actually again I am in. Okay, now this part is done. Now what is the next thing? Next thing is what we will specify now. Basically we want to render a specific columns only, as well as we want to change the header text. We want to give a different heading and we want to display a specific column. That is, I do not want to display the city ID column. So for that, what we have to do, let us observe that argument. So that argument is columns. Okay, and to that columns, look at here, you have to specify a list of IEnumerable web grid column. Means you can specify the collection of column. So how to specify that collection of column? There is a method of our grid, web grid, which is grid.columns. Remember this thing, not column, columns. We are going to define the collection of column. That's why columns. Okay. Now let us define these columns one by one. Now here you have to specify the column using grid.column method. Okay, don't get confused with columns and column. Okay, inside columns you will use column. Now look at here, this method has again optional argument. Okay, so we have to specify the column name first, then after the header, and whether we want to sort it or not. Okay, again if you want to specify any extra style, etc., that can be defined, but I'll cover that part later. First of all, we'll focus on the simple part. Okay, so column name is what? Area ID. Okay, so this name should match area ID. This is the column name. What header I want to specify for it? I want to specify the header ID. Okay, whether I want to sort it or not? Yes, I want to sort it. So by default this can sort property has true value. Okay, so no need to specify it. Now let us create another column. So grid dot column. Here I want to specify the column for area name. Okay, so my column name is what? Area name. Now what header I want to give? I just want to give header area. Again I want to sort it, so by default it is already sorted. Then let us create one more column. So grid dot column. So for city name, so column name is city name, and then after the header is city. Again I want to sort it, so by default it is sorted. So grid dot column. Then I want to show the pin code. Okay, I do not want to specify the pin code header text because I want to appear it as it is. Okay, I want the same header name, so no need to specify it. So here I do not want pin code to be sorted, so here I'll specify the can sort argument false. Okay, now we're done with this part. So let us refresh our page and we will observe the output. Look at here. Okay, we applied the table bootstrap class, so that get applicable. Look at your headings. Even city ID column is invisible and pin code is not in blue color. It means you are you cannot sort by pin code. Now here you can sort by city, you can sort by area, you can sort by ID. Even pagination is also there. Okay. Now as you can see here, every time whenever I click over here, what happens? My page is posted to the server. Okay. Whenever I click on sorting or for pagination, my page is posted to the servers. Now what I want to do, I want to perform these updates asynchronously, means I want to use Ajax. Now again, the WebGrid helper supports unobtrusive Ajax. So the first step you have to do is to install the unobtrusive Ajax. So here I already install it. So for that, which command you will use? Let me show you. Install -package space microsoft.jquery.unobtrusive Ajax. Okay, so you have to install it. Now what is the next step? Here you have to use this Ajax update container ID, means which part you want to update asynchronously. You have to specify the ID of that. So for this I have to assign ID property to my WebGrid. So it is an HTML attribute. So let me specify it with the help of this HTML attribute argument and inside this anonymous class. So ID is equal to say TBL area. Okay. Now here Ajax update container ID property will be set, argument will be set, and here I have to specify the ID that I want to update asynchronously. Now this part is done. Okay, again what is the next important thing? We have to add a reference of this unobtrusive Ajax file. Okay, so let me add it. Basically it is giving me a problem, but let us see this first and then I'll tell you the solution of the same. So let us execute it. So your view is rendered. So let us try for it. See, your whole page get posted if you observe here. So Ajax is not working. Why it is not working? So let us right click over here. Let us view the page source. Look at here. This script get automatically added when we specify that Ajax part. This script is automatically added. Okay. Now this script is added here. Okay. Then reference of our unobtrusive Ajax is below that script. Okay, and again the reference of main jQuery file is again below that. So what we need, we have to add the reference of this jQuery file first before that automated script, before this script, and then after we have to add a reference of unobtrusive Ajax jQuery script. Okay, so let us do this. So let me stop it first. So Control X. Even you can create a section also, so that will be a better option. And then after I have to add a reference of this jQuery file also. Now I hope you understand this. Okay, because here our automated script get added, and before this there should be a reference of jQuery main file, and then after jQuery unobtrusive-ajax file. So let us execute it again. Okay, let us check now. Look at here, your page is not posted. If you look at this part, the page is not posted. Your data is posted asynchronously using Ajax. Okay, so this is quite interesting helper. Okay, and it reduces much overhead of us. Okay, in next video what we will see, how to create a custom web grid. Because what is the problem of this web grid? Just consider that you have thousands of records in the database. Okay, you have thousands of records in the database, and what is it doing? It is bringing all the records here. Okay, and then after pagination get applied. Basically, if I am on the first page and if my page size is 4, it should display me four records only. Currently it is showing me 4 records, but from the database it is retrieving 6 records. And if this number of records are smaller, then okay. But if number of records in the database are much more, say in thousands, then definitely this is not a feasible solution. Okay, so it should fetch only the required records for that particular page, and that part we are going to study in a upcoming video. So thank you.